Yeah, I did change, and I'm really glad I changed.
This one's wife. Are the kids hired? Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. I think it's fair to say that probably the most controversial element of the life of this one's wife revolves around the existence of the children, Archie and Lilibet. This is because there are a variety of differing schools of thought with regard to the existence of these children. The first school of thought is that Archie and Lilibet are the children of Harry and this one's wife, that she carried them, gave birth to them, and there's nothing more to it than that. And any speculation that surrounds that is driven by fantasies, ridiculousness, and in some instances, out-and-out hatred. The second school of thought is that the children do indeed exist, but they were born from a surrogate, that this one's wife wasn't actually pregnant. There are those that point to the various pictures which they believe demonstrates the existence of what has been called the moon bump, a false prosthetic belly that was utilised for the purpose of making this one's wife look pregnant. People have also pointed to discrepancies surrounding the announcement of the births, comments such as Harry about how much they changed within 2 weeks when the child was only 2 days old, and in the circumstances. There are a variety of inconsistencies that people have seized upon. For instance, believing that a doll was presented to the Queen and Prince Philip, that this one's wife went for a pap walk in Canada, carrying a doll, given the way that it was hanging across her front. There's a variety of evidence that supports the possibility that the children came from a surrogate and were not carried by this one's wife. I don't intend to go into all of that detail here, but simply point out that it exists, and this supports the view of many that the children were born via a surrogate. Ordinarily, that wouldn't pose such an issue. There's no shame in somebody having children via a surrogate, and many people do. The issue, as you know, is that this would exclude them from the line of succession because they were not born of the body of this one's wife, which naturally would affect their status, something which is important to a narcissist such as this one's wife. The third school of thought is that the children don't exist at all, that she was never pregnant, that there was no surrogate, and that the children that we see are actors, that they are hired, that there are pictures that are used utilising other people's children, be they children of friends or children that have actually been hired to pass off the role of being the children of this one's wife and Harry. Again, there's a variety of factors that people have put forward in support of this proposition. As I'm talking to you, you can see a selection of pictures of the children that are Archie and Lilibet floating across your screen. In the early days, whilst we didn't see a huge amount of them, we would invariably see their faces when they were babies and toddlers. More recently, we only ever get to see the back of their heads, a hand, a foot, but never their faces. Some suggest that it is simply to protect their identity. Others suggest it's because the children have turned out in a way that displeases this one's wife's aesthetics, and there is some force in such an argument given the fact that she is a somatic narcissist. In other instances, the suggestion is that it's because the children are hired and therefore look different because it's different children used at different times, and that's why the faces are never shown. You will undoubtedly have your view about the position of the children, in terms of whether you think that they were born from this one's wife or a surrogate, or that they don't exist at all. And no doubt you will find certain evidence persuasive in that regard. But another photograph has been released, naturally by this one's wife on her Instagram account, which forms part of this thumbnail, and has then raised the question again as to the provenance of the photograph, and furthermore raise question marks in relation to the children and whether they're actually hired. The picture, which you now see on your screens, was posted by this one's wife, once again going to Instagram for the purposes of the assertion of control and drawing fuel. Furthermore, done as a provocation. This was released following the handing down of the judgment in the Court of Appeal case, Harry's emotive interview, and his ridiculous statement. Naturally, this one's wife is seeking to provoke by showing we are a family that sticks together, we have an idyllic family lifestyle, we just want to be protected. It's disingenuous, and its purposes are clear to see. As is often the case with any photograph that is produced which involves the children, it comes under scrutiny. And we see that the picture is in black and white, with the contrast turned up, it would appear, and furthermore, that it was taken in a garden somewhere. The inference would be that it is the Sussex's garden, but that can't be taken for certainty. It shows, purportedly, Prince Harry, although we can't see that it's him, as his head is missing because it's blocked by the little girl on his shoulders. He's holding the hand of a boy, and the clear inference is this is Prince Harry with Lily and Archie in the garden, with the photograph presumably taken by this one's wife from behind. We're used to now only seeing the backs of the heads of the children. That is the modus operandi of this one's wife when it comes to them, seeking to tease people under the auspices of the protection of their identity. In relation to the picture, the first impression I gained was that the three of them have been photoshopped into a garden. It put me in mind of many years ago with cereal packets. You used to get transfers, and on the back of the cereal packet there was some kind of scene, and you could then get the transfers and rub over them with a coin or a pencil to put them onto the scenario as you please to create your own picture. And it put me in mind of that when I saw this, that it looks like they've been added on. They don't look like they're actually there. It might be a cloudy day, but they don't have any shadows. And they appear not to fit quite right with the context of the rest of the picture. It might therefore be a fabrication that has just been created for the purposes of devilment and, of course, the management of the facade. But what is also interesting, and which raises again the question as to the legitimacy of the existence of the children, is that by jingo, Archie has either been stood in manure or they're feeding him they are feeding him food that is particularly prone to making the boy have a growth spurt. Hitherto, and as you've seen from the photographs that floated across your screen earlier, Archie seemed to be stuck at a certain height. Indeed, it appeared that his sister wasn't too far behind him, height-wise. Yet here, he suddenly shot up, with his head nearly reaching the chest of Harry. Harry is 6'2" in height, and if you take from this picture a measurement, each centimetre on it equates to 8.2 inches. Accordingly, when you measure Archie, he is 6.5 centimetres in height on the image, each centimetre representing 8.2 inches, because we know the height of Prince Harry, which therefore equates to each centimetre being multiplied by that 8.2, giving a height of 4'4" for Archie. Now, he's about to hit 6 years old, and the average height for a boy age 6 is 3 foot and 9.5 inches. So he is considerably taller, some 6.5 inches taller than he ought to be. It's a possibility, but it does seem rather extraordinary. At the age of 7, the average height is still only 4 foot. At the age of 8, it's 4 foot 2.5 inches. And it wouldn't be until he hits 9 that the average height would be 4'4". Therefore, either Archie is being fed some damn good food and being stood in manure every night to aid his growth, or he's suddenly a lot older than we thought he was. Thus, this does cause people to question the legitimacy of the existence of the children, given that he now appears far taller than he did just recently. Is this a different person? Is this a different boy from the one that we'd seen in earlier photographs where he's much shorter? Admittedly, those were taken a little while ago, but the growth spurt is noticeable. Furthermore, we also see that Harry appears to have suffered an injury, for his leg twists in a rather strange way. That above his ankle, it looks like his leg is broken in the way that it is twisted. Now, the strangeness of the photograph with regard to the height of Archie and also his hair does look rather different than it ordinarily does. It looks far straighter and smoother compared to when it's often seen with a bit more of a curl or a kink in it. It also looks darker than it has been seen as of late, although it is difficult to see for sure, because after all, recent photographs it looked like this one's wife had upped the orange filter, and here it's in black and white, so it makes comparisons difficult. But once again, the appearance of this photograph does call into question the legitimacy of it and also the appearance of the children. And it leads to two possibilities. The first is that the picture has been doctored so that it has been stretched, which is why you've got this strangeness of Harry's leg and why Archie looks taller than he actually is. Or that somebody else has been substituted for whoever it was that was Archie in earlier pictures. To my mind, it's most likely the case that there has been some photoshopping of this picture, which has resulted in them being stretched, giving the appearance of a greater height for Archie, that the images have been superimposed. If you look, for instance, at the way that they're meant to be holding hands, it doesn't look entirely natural, and it might well be that it was a picture taken of Lilibet on Harry's shoulders, and it's been joined with a separate picture of Archie running through the garden to make it look like he's holding his father's hand and all three of them together, and then that's been superimposed on the garden. I think what's happened here is that it's more likely that a picture has been taken of Lilibet and Harry together, a picture has been taken separately of Archie, the two images have been pushed together, they've been stretched in the consequence of that process and superimposed on a garden. And that's why you have this strange outcome vis-a-vis the height. But there'll be others that would suggest no. It's a natural photograph. In an actual fact, what it demonstrates is that Archie is played by different individuals. Once again, the chicanery of the narcissist on display. What do you think, valuable viewers? Do you agree with me that this is a photoshopped photo which has been stretched, resulting in two images put together to create a composite? Or do you think that there is chicanery with regard to the identity of the children and who plays them? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. I'm HG Tudor. Thank you for listening.